Okay, so we're actually going to be having like a rant slash review of the short story by Edgar Allan Poe called The Fall of the House of Usher. Okay. So this is actually on Netflix and it's 8 episodes. It's a mini series they call it, but it's 8 episodes. Each episode is between 50 minutes to an hour and 16, depending on which one you watch. Essentially, you have this rich family, the Ushers, multi-billion dollar rich, whatever kind of family, and you have the father, and then you have his sister. Those two are the people who started this entire business. The father has all these different kids by different women and all that kind of stuff. From my understanding, the sister didn't have any kids. Now, she was always the brains behind everything, the manipulation. Like, okay, I need you to think this way. We're going to do it like this. We're going to do it like this. And he just followed her lead for it. She was in the background, but he was always in the front. But she was like, okay, we're doing this. Okay, she's trying to do this algorithm stuff, AI kind of stuff. She was always with all that kind of stuff. But the business is a pharmaceutical business. Okay, it's essentially the opioids crisis, where they're saying like, okay, have this and you can live pain free. The reason why is because their mother, in her last moments of death, last few months, last few years, she was in so much pain and she didn't want to take medicine because it was ungodly and all that kind of stuff. So she ended up dying in a painful death, and then some other stuff happens. Okay, so their whole thing is, okay, let's have something that is not addictive, but it's something that can help alleviate pain. Obviously, because it's opioid, it's going to be addictive. Right? It just is what it is. But that's what's going on. Okay. I'm gonna be real, y'all. This, I didn't like it. If I had to give it like out of a 10-star review or something, this was probably around a 4 for me. I seen that a lot of people liked it, and I don't see why. So I'm going to actually get into why hey, if you like it, that's on you. But for me, it just wasn't there. All right, but we're going to get into why I'm saying this, okay? First off, I want to talk about the positives of this show. So I like the whole style of it. I like the look. I like the dress. I like the tone. I like the color of it. Okay, it's not this bright, loving, it's a little darker and all that kind of stuff. I like the style, and it was really cool. They have flashback scenes in there, and I felt like the style matched whatever year, whatever era that they were in. Okay. Some of the actors also were pretty good, like Carla Gugino. I really liked her. She essentially is your angel of death. She's your, not angel of death, but I guess you could say that she's kind of your angel of death slash your devil, which was a fallen angel. I really liked her. Bruce Greenwood, I really liked him. Mark Hamill, I thought he was doing a very good job. And there was just some people that I thought were doing a good job. You even had Carl Lumbly as well, who I thought was pretty good in here. So you had some. Now, notice I said some, okay? And we are going to get into it. I also thought some graphics were actually pretty good, because in here you have these people who essentially each episode someone dies, okay? And we're going to get into all that. But each episode someone dies, and you got the blood, the gore, just the scenery of all of that looks good. I'm like, oh, okay, like this didn't look cheap. It didn't look like it only cost them $5. You know what I mean? So I was like, okay, this is good.
Like and subscribe.
Now we have to get into the negatives of it, okay? Because that's why I gave it a 4 out of 10, okay? So we're gonna get into some of these negatives. Well, one is I felt like it was entirely too freaking long. Alex, you said it's only 8 episodes between 50 to an hour and 16. Really, this could have been a movie where you made it about a 2.5 hour movie at most. Doesn't need to be 3 hours. Okay, 2.5 hours really. But if we want to do TV shows, it should have been 5 episodes, 45 minutes a piece. Kill 2 people in each episode, whatever. And let's keep it moving. Okay, because it was just, even the last episode killed 3 people. It was just too. It was too long. It was too drawn out. and it was just, I wasn't feeling it. So the reason why I said, killing two people in one episode. So you have the father, okay, that is played by Greenwood, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you have the father who is playing by Greenwood, and he has, I think it's like 6 kids, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, all from varying ages and all different races, which some of it didn't make any sense to me. We're gonna get into that. All right, so that's essentially what's going on. In each episode, a kid dies. All right, spoiler alert. The reason why is because in 1980, I believe, or you could say, yeah, it would be 1980, 1979, 1980, because it was New Year's. So essentially what ended up happening was you had Bruce Greenwood, which is Roderick Usher, and his sister, which is Madeline Usher, which is played by Mary McDonald. So essentially what they ended up doing was they had this dude that they were working under, and they were like, okay, we're gonna put you in a wall and put cement blocks over it. We're gonna put you in a wall and put bricks over you, and you're gonna pretty much be buried in a wall. And that's what they did. They did that, then they went and, okay, let's make sure everyone's seen us, so there would be no like, oh well, they weren't there, they left the party early or whatever, because it was a 20s themed party. So then they go to this bar, okay, that is newly built over there or whatever. They go to a bar and they're over there kicking it, just to show face, like, okay, well, I know we committed a crime, but let's pretend like we didn't do anything. Okay, let's pretend like we've been here and hopping from bar to bar, club to club, whatever the case may be. So they go over there and they are greeted by, like I said, the lady who's essentially the angel of death is Verna. So she's the one, she's, a bartender or whatnot. And she's like, talking ish, whatever. Night's over, talking about resolutions. And she's like, how would you like it if I could make you two the richest family, whatever? Okay, I could give you as many riches as you would like, and you would live a good life, your kids would live a good life, etc. Right? But the only caveat to it is, once your time to die essentially comes to head, both of you die, and whoever is in your bloodline dies as well, i.e. his kids and possible grandkids, okay, from either side. They essentially say, okay, well, what's the catch? I mean, is that it? Yeah, you get to live your rich life, because I'm make sure that everything works for you so you can be rich and stay rich and all that. But I want to claim your lives and that of the people in your bloodline as well. Okay, so kids, grandkids, whatever. Or you could live your life as you would, and you'll be struggling and be impoverished, but you get to live longer. What would you choose? So they say, okay, well, I'll choose the riches, F them kids, right? So that's essentially what they ended up doing. That's why Verna is out here collecting lives, because they made a deal with the devil. I mean, that's essentially what all of this is. I thought that little part right there was pretty interesting. I thought that part was pretty cool. I felt like that should have happened, I don't know, about 5 hours before, because it was just it was drawn out significantly. But I thought that part was pretty interesting. Roderick, Bruce Greenwood, was having with Lumley, which was Dupin. He's a lawyer and whatnot. So that was really, it was only one scare during that I was actually like, oh, everything else I was just like, okay, this is doing really nothing for me. But it's supposed to be a horror. And I was just like, okay, I mean, you've seen the guts, and I mean, you've seen all the extra stuff, but I just didn't feel like there was that much suspense. It was just a lot of just dialogue of nothingness, a lot of dialogue, really not too much going on that is really worth anything. So I was just like, okay. So earlier I mentioned that you had some of these cast members that were good. I was like, oh, that's good. Then you got the ones that are not. Okay. You have a lot of wooden acting that's going on. Okay. No, mother, I don't like that. No, father, why did you do that to me? And I was like, okay. Aren't y'all seasoned actors? One of the most atrocious ones
Come on.
was the freaking granddaughter, y'all. What's her name?
Bad.
Lenore Usher. Oh my goodness, her acting in here was atrocious. I was like, girl, this sucks. Father, but mom is sick. Yeah, I know, honey. It's just it, and I thought that her dad, so I was confused with all that, anyways. But whatever. But she was like, "But mom, she's sick, and I don't know what to do." And I'm like, "Girl, your acting is terrible." I mean, her acting was so bad in here. I was just like, "Oh my goodness, how how did this how did this go past the director, producers, and just anyone else who is looking at this?" You know what I mean? How did this get greenlit for her? Because her acting was just really, really, really bad. And then she was acting like she was like 10. And I'm like, girl, aren't you like almost 20 years old, if not 20? I don't know. It was just like her behavior seemed a little immature for her to have been almost 20. At least that's what it appeared to be. Could she have been 16? Sure, but she looked like she was about 20, 21 years old. So I was just kind of like, I don't get it. Yeah, her acting wasn't good. You had, I mean, everyone is just so, and I'm not asking for likable characters. I don't really need that. I feel like, if you want good storytelling, it would help to have that a little bit, but no one was likable at all.
Say that.
And everyone was just like this hollow. For example, you got this chick Juno. So she's supposed to be Roderick's wife. She's, for some of the kids, she's younger than them. So it was just like, okay. Then you had some of these other people, and it was just kind of like thrown away. I was just kind of like, okay. And then some other people, I mean, their acting just was not good. I was like, what is even going on here? It was just very weird to me. Another thing was, some people were just oblivious to certain things that were going on. you know um and I get it. People got money, so it's like, for what may be crazy to us is normal to them. But I was just kind of like, this is, I don't know, it was just certain things that happened where it was just kind of weird. There's a part where this lady, she has a whole bunch of acid being thrown on her and all this from the sprinkler system. And she is all in bandages and stuff. And it was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take her to the house. And the daughter's like, Dad, really? And I'm like, oh god,
Bro.
that's the granddaughter. And then you got the hospital doctor. He's like, we wouldn't recommend doing that. He was like, do you know who I am? I could do it. And I was like, okay. I mean,
Boy,
that
bad.
trope, that gets annoying after a while because it becomes meaningless. Okay, we see that you got money. I mean, this guy got so much money in his kitchen. Next to his kitchen, he has a bowling alley little thing. So it's like, okay, y'all rich and everything. It gets old when someone's like, do you know I could own you? Do you know how much money I have? I could kill someone and do it. I was like, okay. I mean, it just, after a while, for 8 episodes, it's too much, and everybody's doing it. It's just way too much. Another thing that I did not like was when we had Roderick and we had the black lawyer guy. Okay. Oh my god. This was so annoying. So essentially what they do is they have these two talking, and they're talking about, Roderick. He calls him up. He said, yo, I'm going to confess to murders and all this other stuff and whatever. So he calls him over, and throughout this entire series, we just keep getting back and forth, back and forth. So he's telling the story that we're seeing of his kids and all that kind of stuff. Because in the beginning, all his kids are already dead. Okay. His granddaughter, spoiler alert, ends up dying, but we don't know until all the way into the last episode, right? Which I was like, okay, we could just kill her earlier, and then, because I just feel like it was wasted time. Because whatever, we ain't even gonna get into all that. But the whole thing going on between those two was getting on my nerves after a while, because you've already spoiled quite a bit that went on. Alex, what you talking about? What do you mean they spoiled quite a bit? Well, there's a scene where, and like I said, they made a deal. They said, okay, your kids are gonna die, grandkids are gonna die, and y'all gonna have to die. So his sister was like, okay, well, I'm not dying, y'all. I like life.
Bro.
Okay. So she was like, you got to kill yourself. I mean, you're going to have to take all these pills, and I mean, you're going to have to end yourself because, that's the only way. So he does that, and the angel of death brings him back. And I was just like, well, we already knew that, because if this is the past and him talking to the black dude is the present, we already know that you weren't gonna die. So I just felt like that whole part right there was kind of pointless, because it was like, we already know that you're alive, so why do we need to see that you got revived? But we already knew that you were going to be revived because you were already alive. So this could have been, I mean, you could have just told him this. You know what I mean? Yeah, I popped pills and she brought me back to life. We didn't have to see it because we already know that you're already here. Another whole point here where the black dude, he, back in the day with him, he was like, your signatures were forged on these documents, da da da, whatever, and we could actually do something good here. And then he was like, yeah. That would be great. And then he goes and has the meeting. Then he says, no, my signature wasn't forged on there. So it was like, okay. And the black dude, if he didn't have him to help him out, essentially he had no case, whatever, he ended up getting fired. Alex, well, what's the problem with that? Well, we already know, because he mentioned about the whole sailing of the dude's lawyer, of Roderick's lawyer. Black dude already mentioned, he was like, I was unemployed because of you. So if you put two and two together, you'll be like, okay, he was unemployed because of you. So that must have meant that you did not actually go through with the whole signature forgery thing, which obviously didn't happen.
Say that.
So this is all meaningless because we already seen it. We already know, 45 minutes earlier that you didn't do it. So that whole scene was pointless. It's like, that's the problem when you are showing me things and telling me, doing a foreshadow or whatever. That's the whole problem when you do that kind of stuff, because you've already told me what happened. So now do I really need to see what happened? You know what I mean? So that's where I was at with it. I was like, okay, you already told me, so what's the point? Y'all, now we're gonna get into a little bit of the casting issue that I got. Maybe like, oh, you already mentioned the granddaughter and her terrible acting. I'm a little confused. So we have a lady here. No, I'm gonna actually put up an image of the cast that we got and everything, and most of these are kids and the children and everything. Now we got this lady here, Tania Miller. She plays Victorine. Okay. Yeah, so she's supposed to be Usher's daughter from a black woman that they never mention at all. Okay, they just say, okay, yo, your mama, whatever. They never mention, because apparently he was hoeing around. So now I'm not a geneticist or anything like that, but I don't think that's his kid. They say it is in this show, and people say, well, genetics are weird like that. That lady, you would have been better casting me. Let's keep it real. Or in all realness, you would have been better casting her girlfriend, because she's gay in here. You would have been better casting her girlfriend, who is a Latina. Okay. And so I'm like, okay, because you don't look a lick of Usher at all. Nothing. Okay. And the same can be said for, there's this Indian dude. His name is Sharuya Sapkoba, whatever. Come on,
boy,
that dude's clearly Indian,
right?
And you got the black lady who's clearly black. I don't want to hear it, because I was just like, somebody that doesn't make any sense. It's like saying, so we got an Asian character in here, okay? He just is like a throwaway boyfriend, whatever, okay?
Come on.
It's like saying he's half. You'll be like, nah, he don't look half. That's my point. Okay. So I just thought it was very odd. I just felt like this was your, how people just be forcing different things and different things. I felt like that's what this was, because I was like, you don't look like you're supposed. I was confused. I was like, did I miss something? Does this include adoption or what's going on? And they were like, no, your mother. And I was like, your mama. I was like, nah, and I get it. Not everyone has that typical mixed look, but this ain't it. Okay. I just felt like her casting was off. And then out of everyone, she just went crazy. I mean, everyone was already like weird and, but she just went like psychotic
Ooh,
crazy. And I was like, okay, girl, I don't know what's going on with you. And then the Indian dude, he's the youngest of all of them. And, he's having this crazy orgy thing, cost $20,000 to get up in there. And I was like, later for him. Anyways, so another thing that I had an issue with was just and I mentioned it earlier, but the repetition of these jump scares. I was during this little interview thing that they
bro.
had. I was just like, this is not scary. It's actually getting annoying. Two jump scares, fine. And we got, 7, 8, 9. I'm like, okay, only one hit. The percentage is off. Let's just keep it moving. Okay. Um, we've already seen it's flashbacks constantly. I'm like, y'all, I already know what's happening, and I don't need this flashback. I don't need this. I don't need this. I don't need this. Okay, and yes, I did watch all episodes. Okay, it's 8 episodes. Episode 1 and 2 had my full attention. Episode 3, I started fidgeting with stuff, playing on my phone, and everything else after that, I was just like, okay, this could play while I'm like doing some dishes, mopping the floor, cooking some food. Like, that's how little of attention that I was giving it. Because it just was not really entertaining, you know what I mean? Something like The Boys or Gen V, for example. Gen V I was just watching yesterday. Something like that, I'm sitting down, I'm eating my food, and I'm barely like looking down at my food because I don't want to miss anything. Okay, I missed one thing, the guy got blown up, and I'm like, whoa, what? Because I looked down at my food. So I'm like, okay, I'm like this when I'm watching it. But this, I was just like, yeah, okay, it's good. It just wasn't doing anything for me. Um, but yeah, I mean, that's really what this was. It was just the reason why his kids are dying because they made a deal with the devil, and it was just like, okay, we could have wrapped this up in about 2.5 hours,
You ain't
not
lying.
8+ hours of TV. Because I mean, people liked it. I just was not, I didn't see it. I was like, this is quite boring, actually. I like what y'all doing here and the message that you're giving because the angel of death, Verna, she gave all these people opportunity. Now, she was going to kill them regardless because you later find out about the pack. But before we find out about the pack, I'm like, well, she's giving you an out, is she not? But she was gonna kill him anyways. So, and like I said, she ended up killing the granddaughter just because you are blood. Even though the granddaughter was good, but that's just is what it is. Okay, but I was just like, this is like not good. Okay, I'm like, these people are just, they all suck. And I'm not looking to have a likable character, but you can't have a show and not like anybody. You cannot have a show where you hate everybody. Okay, think about The Boys, for example. I mean, even Homelander, you kind of like him a little bit. You know what I mean? Because some people, it's like, and then his mannerism. I mean, Anthony Starr. I mean, come on. You know what I mean? But it's just stuff like that. But here it was like, you don't like anybody. Even the granddaughter, I didn't even really like because she was starting to get on my nerves. I mean, her wooden acting and all that kind of stuff. I was just like, you're just not entertaining at all. You know what I mean? So I was just kind of like, okay, you're boring, let's move you off. And then everybody else was so irreplaceable. And here's the thing, like I said, they kill off a person each episode, and I'm like, we got too many characters, way too many characters, so much unnecessary exposition that we're having. I'm like, this is just not for me. It just isn't. There's a way to do things and a way not to do things. I was actually reading a comment and someone said, oh, I feel like people who don't like all the exposition, they must hate reading. I love reading. Oh, I love reading. Okay. Finished all the Harry Potter books, Plague of Corruption, Crime and Punishment, Witcher 8, 1, and I'm on 2 right now. I love reading. Okay. And various other books that I've read. But there's a way to put this stuff in there and a way not to. Okay. With exposition, for example, could J.K. Rowling and Warner Brothers have put in that scene where Harry and Voldemort are having their, face off in the middle of like the Great Hall or whatever, and everyone's around him, and he's just spewing just dialogue like crazy? Could we have had that for the movie? Sure. would it really have made sense to have that for there? And and also the book, no, it wouldn't have made sense to really put it in there. For the book, great, but for TV, we gotta. And it was already going slow. It was taking all day, and I'm like, these characters are insufferable, and then we gotta keep watching them. I don't know, for me it just wasn't for me, I guess. I know people, like I said, people were loving it, people were liking it, but for me personally, it was boring, it was uninteresting. Like I said, episodes 1 and 2, probably 3, I was like, but it just as it went on, I was like, I can't with it. It's so freaking boring. It's taking way too long to get to where it needs to be. You got these wooden characters up here. You got people who, they don't even look like they even supposed to be in the family in the first place. It's just like all of it was just getting on my nerves, just constantly, and even the lawyer. I was like, okay, I was liking the guy when he was younger than the actor that played him when he was older. And the reason for that, when they were having a little interview thing that was going on, the reason for that is because this dude's doing all this crazy jumping, right? So you have Roderick, he's seeing stuff, and the black dude, he ain't seeing anything. So he's seeing stuff, and he's like, and he's doing all that, and the black dude's just like, man, are you okay? I would have been like, what's going on? I would have had to throw something. I'd be like, we ain't doing that. I don't know what kind of hoodoo you got. Let's meet in the Walmart, or let's meet in the McDonald's or something. We're going to be meeting somewhere else and not up in this dark room. You're going to be acting like that. Okay. Now he did go off one time, but everything else, he just wasn't, because I would have been like, we ain't doing this. Okay. Because he was he was acting weird, yo. He's like, and all this other stuff falling on the floor, and then like, and I'm like, dude. So for me, to keep it real, especially this dude being black, we ain't doing that. You want to do all this crazy hoodoo, other stuff? We gonna have to take this in a public place, because I don't trust what you got going on over here. Okay, but I don't know, yo. This just was uninteresting to me. At first, it had me, but then it just wasn't. Let me know what y'all think. If you have seen it, let me know what you all think down below. Hey, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and also leave a comment down below. I would also appreciate it if you could go on ebay.com, simply type in Latrice Limited, click on shops, and then you can support me right over there. I have a wide variety of items over there. I have many of my own personal Latrice Limited items, which has candles, bath bombs, soaps, essential oil blends, lingerie robes. I have a whole bunch of stuff. I even have comic books on there, men's ties, action figures, a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Definitely support me on there. Like I said, do not forget to like and subscribe, and thank you.